I'm cooking for my sweetie, and just because we're both chefs doesn't mean lobster and fancy elaborate sauces. It's actually some of the comfort foods that I know Michael loves and I myself have a weakness for. To start things off, warm sausage and pepper salad. I've already made the marvelous meatloaf. And for dessert, the whole apple tart with the salted caramel sauce. But to go with the meatloaf, what is better than mashed potatoes? Except maybe my buttermilk mashed potatoes. I like to use Yukon Gold potatoes. They're sort of the best all-purpose, everyday, good for everything kind of potato. They've got a balanced starch content to them. So when you do mash them, they don't turn gluey or stretchy at all. And what's important is to cut them in pretty much the same size pieces. That way they cook evenly as they boil. I've got cool water and a generous pinch of salt. I've got that going on high, loosely covered at first, and then boil them uncovered until they're tender. The potatoes are done. When a knife goes in and it yields quickly and it actually breaks apart the potato, of course it's tender. And put the same pot back on low heat and melt about a quarter cup of butter. This tool is by far the best tool to use, and it's a potato ricer. So it gently forces through the potatoes without stretching or developing any of that starch in there, so they're fluffy and light and delicious. And now I've got that nice layer of melting butter in the bottom of the pan. And it looks like spaghetti to start. There won't be a single lump, and it actually adds a creamy texture to the potatoes. Oh, no wonder I love cooking. I get all these fun toys. And I'll start with a touch of salt. I can always add more later. And some pepper. Let me grab a wooden spoon. Look at how fluffy and light that is, because the minute I press down, it compacts. But you can already see with only just that little bit of butter how creamy and fluffy the texture is. It really makes such a difference. Now for the liquids. And a lot of people think, well, buttermilk, it's so rich, it's so thick, it must be loaded with fat. Buttermilk actually only has 1% milk fat. So I just stir it in while the potatoes are on low heat. And I can't resist. I have such a weakness for sour cream that about a quarter cup of sour cream, I find, just sort of enhances the buttermilk a little more. It's got its own sour taste for the sour cream. Give it a taste. And at this point, you just have to stir to combine. How easy is that? So I've just got about an inch of water in this pot. And then place this pot into the larger one. And now I have a nice protective but warming environment for the mashed potatoes, and they'll stay warm in a 275 oven. You can keep them in the oven for a full hour and they'll be just like you made them. It's a great time-saving trick. Ooh, the meatloaf is almost done. So I can keep those potatoes warm and fluffy and perfect until Michael gets home. And I'll just give these little mini meatloaves a check to make sure they're 170 all the way through. And then that 275 oven is actually perfect to re-warm them when it's time to eat. The last thing for me to make is that warm sausage and pepper salad for Michael.